Yes, we are going to break 200K. Yes, we are going to break 300K. Yes, we are going to break 1 million. Talent is moving away from Germany, moving away from Europe, go to the US, go to Central America, and obviously they're also bringing wealth.
They are building in the education department a Bitcoin department, and together with Mi Primera Bitcoin, they are now enrolling a program where they teach 400 teachers about Bitcoin, and then the teachers go ahead and learn the students about Bitcoin.
The more you join and use this protocol, use this technology, the more you benefit from it.
I don't like to be paid now in fiat anymore.
We would shift our mindset from short-term thinking to long-term thinking.
It feels so good to buy Bitcoin, and it feels so bad to buy anything else.
Bitcoin mining is good for countries. Bitcoin mining is good for people. Bitcoin mining is good for institutions.
The goal all of the sudden shifts from tomorrow to like next year to like the 10 years to the 100 years out.
Bitcoin is going up and to the right forever. Your euro is going to crash, your dollar is going to crash, your yen is going to crash.
1/3 of the miners around that number is in America. So it's impressive what they're doing. And they didn't sleep on the internet, and they're not sleeping on Bitcoin either.
Yeah, and a lot of interesting stuff going on right now on nation state and country level in the US right now. So there's a lot to observe at the moment, which is pretty exciting. And you actually just have been to El Salvador, right? So maybe you can talk a little bit about it, the first impressions you had, the positive stuff, maybe some disappointing stuff you experienced in El Salvador, and maybe like how was the German community over there, or the German speaking community? Are there already people located over there? Like, tell us a little bit, like what's going on over there, first impressions.
Absolutely. And for people that might be confused now that you are asking questions, because it's very unusual for my podcast, we talked about it before, and we will do the first part of that a little bit about El Salvador, because I said and I promised that I will make a video about it. And I just decided 1 minute before we started recording, let's do this in this video. So spontaneous as always.
Flexible.
We are flexible, and then let's talk about nation state adoption, and then like current things, and then a little bit about your topics also. Really cool that we can be flexible here. And yeah, El Salvador, I was the first time ever in El Salvador. I was never there. First of all, as an Austrian, as someone that comes from Europe, it's a long trip. It took me around 24 hours to get there, because I had to come with Canada. There's no direct flight from Vienna, so I have to go from Vienna to Canada, from Canada to America. There's layovers. The total flight hours are like 14, 15 hours. Then obviously you have to be previously on the plane. You have to go from the airport back to the Airbnb, and there's layovers. So it takes around 20 to 24 hours from Austria to El Salvador. It's a tough trip, and it's like obviously also a long trip, and you go from 7 hours difference of the time zone. So like you start here, and El Salvador is 7 hours behind. So it's a big difference also in there. But when I landed, I drove actually with the Bit driver, so with the Bitcoin Uber to my Airbnb, which was amazing because you can pay him directly in Bitcoin. There's like a lot of Bitcoin stickers there. But then I purposely decided in El Salvador, I want to drive with Uber and not with the Bit driver, because I want to be a little bit outside of the Bitcoin bubble. If you're just driving with the Bit driver to all the Bitcoin conferences, then obviously you think that El Salvador is the Bitcoin country.
So you wanted to see the real El Salvador too.
Exactly, yeah. And so I was driving with Uber and was asking all the Uber drivers who spoke English, because I think 50% of the Uber drivers that I spoke to weren't even able to speak English. So if you consider moving to El Salvador, you should also consider that you have to learn Spanish. It's hard to get there across with just English. You should learn at least like a minimum amount of Spanish. But yeah, that's anyways, wherever you move, you should learn the language the local speak there. And then it's really interesting when you get there and ask the people that speak English about Bitcoin. First of all, they are positive towards it, but almost no one had it. Look, from those people that I spoke to, the local peoples, actually nobody had it. Nobody saved the
Interesting.
money Bitcoin, and nobody used it really. The only thing that someone used is like the Chivo wallet, and then they got the incentive from the government and converted back to US dollars. So they had some touch points. They sometimes had the Chivo wallet, but they didn't. So the penetration in the general population isn't that huge. Obviously, it's bigger than in Austria, but it's not like, oh yeah, everyone uses it, and you cannot pay in Bitcoin everywhere. I try to just go where I want to go and not to search for Bitcoin restaurants. Like I went just to Google and like, oh, here's a nice pupusa place. Pupusa is a nice dish in El Salvador. Very
Yeah.
delicious, but very unhealthy. I loved it a lot. But I'm glad it's not here in Austria because I think I would eat it every day. It's really good. I went to the
What is
pupusa.
it?
It's basically a round thing, and there's like meat inside, and there's like some sort of bread around it. It's like it's a little bit of like a bread. I don't know what the bread actually is, but it's like in oil made, and like it's very fat. It's not that bad, but it's very good. Not the
So
healthiest
something I
thing.
need to check out once I'm over there.
Yeah, and you will check it out. They are all over the place. Like if you go there, you will see pupusa places. You literally just go around the corners, and they're like the street food pupusa places, and there are also like big restaurants that only sell pupusas with every different kind of filling inside. So a lot of things are happening with that, and yeah, with that, I would say. And that is kind of the food there. Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say. With Bitcoin, then I wanted to try to pay with Bitcoin in those restaurants that I just searched on Google and did not search for Bitcoin restaurants. I couldn't pay there with Bitcoin anywhere.
Interesting.
They all knew what Bitcoin is. So I think that was one accomplishment of El Salvador. Everyone there knows Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a word that everyone is familiar with, and most of them also know that Bitcoin is already a currency that the government tries to put in, and most of them are very positive towards that and is saying like, oh, it's very innovative. The government is trying something very modern. So in that sense, it has a general positive sense to it. But I'm not sure if they just pretended that because I came with Bitcoin t-shirts there.
So they wanted to make you feel comfortable. They wanted to make you feel right at this place.
Yeah, exactly. It's just something that you have to consider. I'm as coming someone with a Bitcoin t-shirt on, and they maybe just being friendly there, and that's one thing that I really like. That's something that I was surprised that the adoption is not as far as I thought. I couldn't pay anywhere just with Bitcoin, so I had to really search for places to pay with Bitcoin, and not just go on Google and say like, let's go there, and I can pay with Bitcoin there. It was not like that. Even I went up to the San Salvador volcano, and there you had to pay with cash, so you could not pay with card or with Bitcoin. I didn't had US dollar cash with me. I only had euros cash or US dollar in credit card form with me. So I just couldn't pay for the entry fee.
Even though they're using their volcanoes to mine Bitcoin, right? So this
Exactly. And
clearly shows us how long it takes to basically adopt to a Bitcoin standard. I mean, right? They introduced it like 21, so they are now ahead like 3 years compared to other states or countries that might jump on. But this is like the early pioneering advantage they have now. Like this 3 years clearly show us it still needs time. It's a process of years to fully adopt to a Bitcoin standard. And I think this is so interesting to observe that even they announced it in 21, and even though we clearly see the success as of now for those 3 years, it really takes time to bring this into a country.
it also shows us that El Salvador is doing the strategic is doing it very strategically, but not pressing it on the people. Because El Salvador could also just force, with very forceful laws, every merchant to accept it. They could do that. They could
They can choose,
literally go
right?
from
Now they can just choose what to use.
exactly. And it's like they could make like very forceful laws, and they could like randomly go to merchants and say like, oh, do you accept Bitcoin? Oh, you don't accept Bitcoin, you have to pay now a fine for that. So like they could do a lot of things in order to enforce it, but they choose not to do it. They try to keep it friendly. And I think that's very nice what they're doing. But at the same time, they are building in the education department a Bitcoin department, and together with Mi Primera Bitcoin, they are now enrolling a program where they teach 400 teachers about Bitcoin, and then the teachers go ahead and learn the students about Bitcoin. And this is just the starting of all those programs. So they really try with incentives and with education to go in there, and not with forceful laws, which I think is a very, very positive sign.
Super interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely, yeah. And so overall, I have to say, everyone is extremely hopeful about El Salvador. Everyone is extremely, positive towards this brain train that happens. Like the people, the best talent of El Salvador moved to America, to Spain, to Europe, to wherever. This stopped now, actually. The people are staying in El Salvador and want to build something in El Salvador. And even the opposite is now happening, where people that moved out are coming back. And we see now not only the people that moved out that are coming back, but also talent that is from somewhere else, like Europe, America. They're coming to El Salvador now, especially Canada.
I see a lot of experts now going to El Salvador, and I think this is quite interesting because this wouldn't be the first country in my head or in my list as an expert to relocate or to move to, but this clearly shows that this emerging technology is attracting both the right talent and wealth and pulling it into countries who adopt to a legal friendly Bitcoin standard. It's amazing to observe, and obviously I talk to a lot of German speaking people, and I see them relocating over there. I see them moving over there. So they talent is moving away from Germany, moving away from Europe, go to the US, go to Central America, and obviously they're also bringing wealth, and that's just a wealth transfer happening right in front of my eyes, and I think it's just very interesting.
I am very glad that my income is not depending on Europe. My income is just all over the world, and I can just relocate wherever I want. So I'm really glad about that fact, that I'm not working in a European company that is reliant on the European economy, because we see it all over Europe. They're struggling, and hopefully they wake up before it's too late. They wake up before something really breaks, because Europe can be a third world country. It can develop in that. We can decline in that. I really don't hope that, because Europe has amazing culture, amazing countries, amazing landscapes, and it would be a shame if that happens in that regard. So I really hope that Europe gets it at some point. And I have a lot of hope for that, because I see the political parties that are against CBDCs, the political parties that are against the Digital Service Act and the European things, they are becoming stronger and stronger in whole of Europe with all the elections that we see coming up. So I have a lot of hope actually for Europe, but it's a long way to go. And Central America is kind of catching up to Europe, and America is completely going further than Europe. So what are your thoughts so far?
Europe basically, no, I really like and enjoy the fact that you decided to live on a Bitcoin standard as much as possible for yourself. So obviously you get your salary as much as possible in Bitcoin. You're trying to use this technology as much as possible. And this is exactly what I do. as best and as much as possible here in Germany, I started to adopt a Bitcoin standard basically for both, like me on a private side and for my business side through my foundation, to adopt a Bitcoin standard and to live on a Bitcoin standard as much as possible in Germany. And I'd be curious to hear, like, how is this going for you in Austria? What are maybe the challenges you currently face, and what are the advantages you have compared to your peers that are still basically living in a fiat standard?
It's interesting because when you live on a quote unquote Bitcoin standard, right now I still manage to not needing to sell my Bitcoin or borrow against my Bitcoin. I don't need to do this right now because I still have a part of my salary in fiat, and I can still pay all my bills with that. So I'm in this lucky situation where all the income that I have in Bitcoin, I don't need for paying my bills, and all the fiat income that I cannot convert to Bitcoin right now. For example, I have a merch store. There I get paid in fiat. I cannot change that. I have my YouTube ad revenue. I get paid in fiat. I cannot change that. And one of my sponsors, I also asked them to pay me in fiat so I can pay my fiat bills. And that's why I can do with just my 2/3 of my sponsors. I get paid in Bitcoin. I keep that money. It will be really interesting to see how this develops, because honestly, I don't like to be paid now in fiat anymore. So probably will also convert the third sponsor to say like, hey, please now pay me in Bitcoin. And obviously I will probably not convert YouTube or Google to pay me in Bitcoin anytime soon. This is a higher challenge. So right now I don't struggle with that because I pay everything in fiat, and I still have the bank account, still do that. But I would love for it not to be that way. And there are a lot of interesting concepts out there, like just sell your Bitcoin, convert it to fiat and then pay with that, or you can borrow against your Bitcoin. There are companies with Firefish, Lendesat and stuff like that where you can do that. You could even go to a traditional bank. They're also doing that in Austria and Germany, where you say like, okay, I have this amount of Bitcoin. I want to keep it in my self-custody, but this is my security. How much of a loan are you giving me? These are all possibilities, but there's nothing perfect. I would just love to have a Bitcoin wallet and spend from that Bitcoin wallet. That would be the dream come true. But there are taxes involved in that. There is like documentation involved in that. It's not perfect. How did you manage to do that?
Honestly speaking, yes, it is a challenge. I mean, obviously in countries like Austria and Germany, you cannot fully adopt a Bitcoin standard just yet. The way I do it, obviously I get paid with both Bitcoin and fiat through my foundation. And I also do have my own Bitcoin mining operation. So obviously I pay myself in both fiat and Bitcoin, depending on the needs I have. I really try to live on a minimalism style as much as possible. I just feel like the moment you realize you have an appreciating asset versus depreciating assets, you constantly try to look for ways to just live very simple, very clean, and just to turn as little Bitcoin as possible. In fact, I just sold my 7-seater car. Like, I had this huge 7-seater SUV car, and I felt like this car is standing right there, burning money basically every single second, every single minute, and it kind of didn't feel right for me. So I'm a person who likes to live on a very low minimalism style, and this is what I do. This is what I enjoy. So I try to convert as little Bitcoin as possible. And obviously there are platforms, there are apps out there who make this possible. But yes, I have to work very, very closely with my tax strategy consultant here in Germany. I basically had to outsource my tax part because it just was way too complicated. And so I have this in professional hands, and this person is handling everything with my foundation. It works. I really enjoy the benefits, obviously, since my purchasing power constantly increases month over month. And I see my peers around me complaining about rising pizza prices, around rising barber prices, around rising renting prices. And obviously, when you secure yourself in Bitcoin, then obviously you start measuring, you start thinking even in Bitcoin terms and not in fiat terms anymore. And then prices for you get more cheaper. So this is the advantage I enjoy, and this is why I keep living on this standard as much and as best as possible. And after the first couple of months and everything was settled and I had everything in place, since then it's actually really fun, to be honest. I really enjoy living on the standard, and I would highly recommend everyone doing it or give it a try. It's fun. It's benefiting. The more you join and use this protocol, use this technology, the more you benefit from it. And so this is why my mission and vision is to keep using it as much as possible.
But are you paying in Bitcoin?
I'm basically using apps that convert my Bitcoin into fiat the moment I pay. And sometimes I'm using platforms when I also know, okay, I have a bigger purchase and I need a couple of $100 or whatever. Then I basically convert my Bitcoin and then I pay with the fiat. But I basically convert it at the latest stage. Sometimes I'm at the grocery store. I know I need like $30 for this purchase. So I convert like $30 in Bitcoin into fiat and then I pay my bill.
That's why you need a tax professional.
Correct. That's why I need a tax professional, because this is a long list of transactions, and this needs to be published on a monthly basis, and everything is done through my tax consultant, and he takes care of everything. But if you do this, then you really need to have a professional consultant right next to you in order to make this properly and to make this right.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, in Germany, the rule is also that you can hold it 1 year and then it's tax free. And I think it's also first in, first out. So if you have it for a long time, you can spend like your first Bitcoins. That's actually in Austria. It was also true in Austria. If you hold it like longer than 1 year and then it's tax free, it's since, I think, February 2021, not true anymore. But I bought a big part of my Bitcoin before February 2021. So actually, I never sold any. But if I start to sell Bitcoin, I actually could sell it tax free. I don't know exactly how big that part is, but yeah, it's a good amount of my Bitcoin is actually tax free, even in Austria. So selling would be quite good actually in the starting. But I just don't want to sell Bitcoin at the moment. It feels so much better to spend fiat.
I feel exactly the same, and I was wondering, like, how do you handle this feeling? Like, it can be tough knowing that paying my $3 or my €3 coffee with Bitcoin now actually costs me at some point maybe even a car. Like, how, knowing all this, how do you manage your feelings to actually live life and to keep enjoying things without always struggling like, I don't want to get rid of my Bitcoin. I actually need more of it. You constantly have the feeling you don't have enough Bitcoin, right? So how do you manage the feeling?
I think that's an extremely interesting route, because when you have fiat, all of a sudden you're incentivized to spend as much as possible. You're incentivized to also spend on things that you might not necessarily 100% need. But with Bitcoin, you're like, hey, wait, if I don't spend it now, I get more from it. Because if I am now in Bitcoin, I'm like, oh yeah, if I spend it today, I sell Bitcoin at like 97,000, which is amazing. But maybe if I spend the same amount next year, I maybe sell my Bitcoin at like 250,000. I don't know. That could happen for next year. But so this is then making the case for you to maybe holding off on that purchase that you wanted. And this holding off period can only take so long. If you, for example, if you're a family of 6 people, you probably need that SUV. You would not sell it if you have a family with 6 people, because you have to get from A to B. Maybe you would downgrade to another car. but you need this car, so you cannot hold off of that. You also have to buy food for yourself, so you cannot save on food and just not eat because you die, and then your Bitcoin is also not worth anything. So there are things you need, and you will buy them, and there are things you love, and you buy them, and that's okay. But the third bucket, the things that I want to impress someone else with, things that I really don't need, but I just bought them anyways. And those kind of things, those fall away with Bitcoin, because all of a sudden you're thinking like, do I really need that? And there's something funny happening with me right now. There's two things. There's the first thing is like, whenever I spend, I'm like, I could put this in Bitcoin. Like I could do that in Bitcoin. And the
You're
second
always
thing
calculating the opportunity costs for yourself with every single purchase.
Absolutely. And it's not something, I don't know if it's for you, maybe in that way, but it's not something I calculate like, oh, if I sell this now, it would be like 2x for 2 years from now. It's not like an actual calculation in my head. It's just a feeling where I'm like, I could have bought Bitcoin with that. And it feels so good to buy Bitcoin. And it feels so bad to buy anything else. And I
know the feeling. I feel you.
And I didn't get my girlfriend till now to this point, and there I see a different world. She feels good when she buys something. I lost the feeling that I feel good about buying something other than Bitcoin. Maybe that's not healthy. That could be unhealthy. I don't know. Let's see. But I completely forgot. I've completely lost the feeling of like, oh wow, I bought that and it feels so good. It's gone away. So like maybe it didn't go away completely. There's still a good feeling when I buy something that makes someone else happy, and that's also something that is really great to see. If you're like, oh wow, I bought that. For example, in 1 week I make a holiday with my mom and with my sister and her friend and with my girlfriend, and I basically said like, oh, I'm working so much and I don't see my mom a lot and don't see my family a lot, so I just invited all of them to come with me to that holiday.
That's awesome.
And this money I gladly spent because I spent them on the people I love. And this is under category, hey, do I need that? No, but I love that. So that's the two things I want to spend my money on. It's like things I need. Obviously, I cannot go on without them. I need food, I need shelter, I need the things. And the other thing is like things I love. So I don't love paying for rent. But I need to pay for rent. But I love spending my money on things that make me and other people around me happy. And those things can change over time. But it's really a good insight to struggle with that feeling. And I have that feeling all the time. And yeah, we are now right before 98K actually. I just saw the price before 97.9K. And it's just crazy to see your purchasing power going up that much.
But this mindset, this attitude, Robin, this is something I really love about Bitcoin. To be honest, speaking with Bitcoiners, they all have this kind of mindset. They all have this kind of attitude, and I feel like it's just we are seeing a change, a mind shift change, and narratives when it comes to wealth, when it comes to time, when it comes to how do I want to spend the time with who do I want to spend the time with. And what's actually important to me and what's actually important to others. I feel like in a fiat world, the way we thought, the way we took our decision was more like short term. We wanted to impress people. Maybe we bought this big house, or maybe we bought this big car, which didn't make sense at all. Or maybe we bought the 12th t-shirt in the 15th color to, I don't know, to bring this joy within us. Like you said, you don't have this joy anymore when you're spending your fiat. And with Bitcoin, this narrative, this mindset shifts totally, and it rewards different incentives, and it rewards long-term thinking. And this is what I really like and enjoy to observe, because I feel like, imagine this on all levels, across all industries, we would shift our mindset from long-term thinking, from short-term thinking to long-term thinking. Would we, as human beings, or the population, would we make better decisions on all levels across all industries. And this is what I think we observe in different industries already. And I think this is what we are going to see going forward.
And it's amazing to see that the Bitcoin community is the leader in that right now. And you can see that if you're at Bitcoin conferences, you can see that if you interact with people, and this low time preference, this long-term thinking, it's amazing to see for me the Bitcoin community. And the Bitcoin community is such an important part for me in Bitcoin. Which brings me to one question that I really wanted to ask you, because I think you might have a unique answer to that. What is for you the most important piece or part in the Bitcoin community in Bitcoin? Like what is the one thing that you're like, oh shit, like that's so central and that's so important for the Bitcoin community?
That's a good question. And to be honest, I have a background from tech sales. So obviously before I jumped right into the big Bitcoin technology, maybe to give you a little background, like I started investing in 2017. But obviously by that time I had no clue at all about Bitcoin. I was just living in the US, had American friends. There were some OG pioneers. So salute to them, thanks to them. They brought me into Bitcoin. I had no clue. I was just an investor throwing in money in real estate and shares. So, okay, this emerging asset class, I'll give it a try, throw in some money. But I didn't understand anything about this technology and what it actually can do for human beings, for this community, for all of the people. But obviously, after comparing over the years, those different asset classes, I clearly noticed there must be something special around this. And then COVID hit like in 2020. So everything was slowing down. I was working for American tech giants, basically driving software sales across Europe. Everything was slowing down a little bit. So this was the time I really doubled down on this technology and tried to study and tried to learn Bitcoin. Like, what is so powerful about it? Why can it change the world? Why can it change the way we live and interact with each other? And then I basically fell down the rabbit hole. And then it took me like 2 years to fully understand and embrace everything, and obviously still learning every single day. And then in 22, there came the cut where all those tech layoffs came. And this was what's happened to me as well. So I was one victim of a tech layoff round. And this was the moment I doubled down and went all in. This was in 22. So I went all in Bitcoin and basically jumped from this tech sales bubble, which is also a great community, into the Bitcoin community. And then I started to build my own foundation. I started to build my own Bitcoin mining operation. I started to offer Bitcoin consulting and education, all this kind of stuff. And diving into this community, people like you, Robin, look at you. You said, I'm going all in Bitcoin. Since then, you're doing one podcast every single day. It's incredible, the drive, the mission, the vision. This really goes beyond a 9-to-5 job. I do this because I get some money to pay my bills. This is so much more. People who are really into this technology, who really understand this technology, they know that this protocol, that this network can change the way we live, is going to change the way we live, is going to change the way we interact, how we spend, how we see wealth, how we think, how we take decisions. And I think this is the biggest backbone of this community, because this drive, this vision, this mission, you really see it everywhere, and it pulls up an energy that sucks you in, and even is like a rocket that puts you to the moon. Like those people always say, to the moon. And yes, there's something in it, because not only because of Bitcoin's growth, but actually because of the people behind it, building this new future together. And I think this is the biggest part of this community. And I think this is why this community is also winning.
I partnered up with Coin Vigilante. This is the most beautiful Bitcoin timepiece that I ever saw created by anyone. Look at that beauty. I love it so much. Coin Vigilante made a perfect Bitcoin watch. That's the perfect, subtle, elegant way to go out there and show that you are a Bitcoiner. And that watch brand is Bitcoin only. And Coin Vigilante just dropped a completely new and amazing Genesis edition of their watch collections. You have the date of the first ever mined Bitcoin block in there, and of course also the block height and which epoch we are currently in. I love the level of detail they put in this masterpiece, and make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. If you watch or listen to my podcast on a regular basis, I guess you already bought some Bitcoin. And now the most important step is to keep the Bitcoin. Keep them secure in a hardware wallet. My personal recommendation for hardware wallet is the BitBox. It's super secure. It's simple to set up. It's also a perfect gift for a friend who has still the Bitcoin on an exchange. And you can get a 5% discount with the code Robin at the checkout. Visit bitbox.swiss/Robin to get your BitBox. And the next step is to really level up your sovereignty as an individual. You have to have the most secure self-custody setup. You have to secure your own devices. You have to protect your privacy. You have to set up an inheritance plan. And depending on where you live, you even want to have a plan B, a citizenship where you can move in case something goes really wrong. And through all those steps, the Bitcoin way is guiding you through step by step. And if you visit thebitcoinway.com/partners/Robin, you even get a 30-minute free call to find out how you can level up your sovereignty. It's the proof of work aspect of it, basically. Then, like the proof of work, the low time preference, everything together. It's like you want to all of a sudden get more Bitcoin, so you put your proof of work in, you provide for the community, and with that you also lower your time preference because your goal all of the sudden shifts from tomorrow to like next year to like the 10 years to the 100 years out, some even beyond that. And yeah, that's an amazing summary that you gave us. Really cool. Perfect. And one more thing, you also talk sometimes in your morning coffees. I love the video format of like 5 minutes, like morning coffee with one topic. A cheese, what?
Sometimes it's also teas, coffees. My coffee machine broke, so the next couple of morning coffees will be morning teas.
Oh, teas. I understood cheese. I was like morning cheese. You also talked about Bitcoin mining, and I'm a little bit more getting now into it and trying to figure out how I can contribute to the Bitcoin mining operation, basically. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening in mining, and I wasn't aware how far we're already in the concepts with that. And I was wondering if you are mining, how you look at the mining industry, and what you make out of the mining space.
Yeah. I think mining in particular is super interesting to understand also, like technical or technology wise, like what is really happening behind mining. So I just think this is very interesting how we basically in broad words capturing time and energy and putting this into a digital unit and extracting heat at the same time that we can, and this digital unit we can now save on a decentralized network and basically teleport and transform it through time and space in cyberspace. I just think this is mind-blowing, like technology-wise, what we were able to do. So this is what really brought me into digging into mining space. This was like in 22. And then obviously the way I started, I was reaching out to all those kind of mining companies, to the people behind. I wanted to understand the business. I wanted to understand the business model and the industry. And obviously, I connected with hosting providers. I connected with electricity providers. I connected with ASIC suppliers and miners, and I gathered all this kind of knowledge. And then I basically just started and went away till now, where I have my own farm. And now I'm basically thinking, how can I build a product? Because many people in my environment are asking, like, how can I participate in mining? And 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 to be honest, like retail, it's not easy for retail to mine profitably, especially in German speaking countries, for example. I mean, obviously you have troubles with electricity costs, so you need to go to third countries or emerging countries where cheap electricity is. But what I do like is that basically the goal of all miners is to find the cheapest electricity, renewable electricity on Mother Planet. So all miners are running around, where is stranded energy? Where is free energy? Like, where do we actually produce too much that we can just deduct? Where can we maybe monetize projects like dams for hydro projects? Where can we monetize them immediately to build a dam and to plug in those machines to immediately monetize the entire project and make a win-win for emerging countries who get foreign capital and capital to build infrastructure, for the miners, for the local communities. And that's what I think is super interesting, because Bitcoin mining is good for countries. Bitcoin mining is good for people. Bitcoin mining is good for institutions. So I'm really eager to observe the next decade. Who's jumping on board? Why are they jumping on board? And what are they doing with it? Because we are already growing our food with mining. We are already heating our homes with mining. It's literally nuts. So I'm trying to build a product now that puts me in a position to be a doorway or a gateway for high net worth individuals, family offices, companies, or institutions to participate in Bitcoin mining and to have an exposure in Bitcoin mining. Because obviously it's a struggle. If you want to mine Bitcoin, right, you have to order your hardware from somewhere in China. Maybe you don't get it. Where do you host it? Like, there are great places in the US with Texas. There are great places in Ethiopia, where I'm located. There are places in Russia. There are places in South America. But where do you go? With what kind of machines? And this kind of knowledge collected, I want to build this kind of product that I can put into the market to basically allow companies, high net worth individuals, family offices to have Bitcoin mining exposure. And this is what I'm currently trying to build, so that I can just build more Bitcoin mining farms. This is my goal at the moment.
Super interesting. Is that kind of the thought of like Bitcoin mining as a service, or like those high net worth individuals then can just pay for, like, I don't know, $20,000 of rigs, but you do all the work for them, and they just split, like, I don't know, 10%, 15% of the mining rewards with you?
Correct. So I was like, since a year, I'm thinking about how to build this product to let others participate. And obviously, one option, for example, Go Mining out there is doing this pretty awesome. You can just tokenize your Bitcoin mining farm, right? And then provide basically NFTs, who stands for real miners, but you basically get a virtual miner, and you can just purchase basically terahash, for example, 5 terahash miner, or 10 terahash, or maybe 1,000 terahash miner. And then based on this, you get your daily rewards. So this makes it very easy for retail investors. With 3 clicks, you download the app, you make an account, and you buy a virtual miner, and you get your daily rewards on your wallet address. So this is one part. I even tried them out. I think they're a good solution for retailers who want to participate in mining and just click a couple of buttons. But I do not think that this is the solution that's, first of all, profitable over the long term. I don't think that the solution is going to beat just buy and hold Bitcoin itself. So this is why I decided against it. And now I basically want to build this kind of product where, like you rightly said, where people can participate with an initial investment, 20K, 50K, 100K, 500K, whatever. Take this money and increase existing mining operations and build new mining farms, and partially provide the returns back to the initial investors. And this in a legal, structured way. This is something I'm currently trying to build so that I can put a product out in the market. Hey, you want exposure to Bitcoin mining? You want to participate in Bitcoin mining? I'm going to be your doorway for that.
Interesting. I got, because I just now look into that. I looked into that because because of tax advantage. I thought like if you can take your profits instead of giving a part of the profits to the state, you can actually take your profits and invest in Bitcoin mining to lower your profits and actually have a lower tax rate and get into Bitcoin. That was kind of my initial thought, which was like, oh, maybe the Bitcoin mining might be an interesting idea to get KYC free Bitcoin, offset or lower your tax rate, and contribute to the Bitcoin security. I was like, oh, that seems like an interesting idea, but is that even profitable? Is there a good way to do that? And my first two things was SAS mining and Abundant Mines. Abundant Mines was already on the podcast, the CEO. So I'm still like, I'm very early in just looking into the space, but I thought it could be very nice to get into that. Where you just like buy one rig and you get then I think with SAS mining you get like 85% of the rewards and 15% they are keeping. So I don't know how profitable this is. I didn't do any calculation till now. I'm just like, right now it's just like a interesting idea in my head. And when you talked about that, I was like, that sounds like similar what they are doing. But it's something that has a great potential, I think, even though I did not do the calculations. But you obviously, I think, probably have done more calculations around that, how it actually makes sense. Because what I always hear is like, oh no, like just buy Bitcoin and you will be way better off. Like you will be way more rewarded with that, and you don't have to you don't have to buy Bitcoin miners. But yeah, that's kind of why I'm even interested in that topic.
I mean, I can share some insight, right? I mean, obviously, I was staking Bitcoin and then decided in 22 jump into Bitcoin mining. And obviously, also financially wise, there was a reason why I made the decision to not only stack Bitcoin but also actually jump into Bitcoin mining. And one reason is financial wise, yes, because in simple words, Bitcoin mining is dollar cost average on Bitcoin on steroids. I give you an example. Last month, cost to mine one Bitcoin from my Bergfeld Foundation, 31,000. Operating 24/7, 365, everything automated with an uptime 99%. You don't beat that with buying Bitcoin, because I buy Bitcoin for 31,000 and sell it. Obviously, I don't sell it right now, but at some point, but I'm just getting my Bitcoin cheaper than if I would buy it. So now you have to ask yourself, okay, but how do I come to a cost to mine one Bitcoin for like 31,000? And obviously, and this is the problem when you're like a retail investor into Bitcoin mining and you need to participate in like mining as a service or like solutions like Go mining where you get your NFT. Obviously, they all get something, right? They all earn their money with their service and their solution, which obviously cuts your Bitcoin rewards to a point where I personally believe I'd rather recommend, if you're at this scale for a retail investor, just buy and hold. If you are more serious and want to go into like professional mining and really participate in building Bitcoin mining farms and increasing the hash rate of existing Bitcoin mining farms, then I'd rather encourage participate in something like this, because the cost to mine one Bitcoin just gets reduced, which makes it obviously more profitable for the person who is investing. And this is something I basically want to build and create out there. So this is something I'm going to provide for the market next year.
I'm really excited about that. Really cool. Let me know when you started, because I would love to support you.
Sure. And I can tell
amazing.
Bitcoin, sometimes people ask me like, is Bitcoin mining profitable? And you need to understand that Bitcoin mining, like the revenue, consists of like four variables, five variables, and four of them are unknown, right? The hash rate, the difficulty, the Bitcoin price. So basically, is Bitcoin mining profitable? I cannot tell you over the long term, but if you really understood the technology, if you really understood Bitcoin, this is the moment when you want to get as much Bitcoin as fast as possible, right? This is the feeling we have. We have never enough Bitcoin. So when you understand that you want to get as much Bitcoin as possible, as fast as possible, then Bitcoin mining is a way to do this because you simply get more Bitcoin out of your initiate fiat investment. For example, if you spend 100K today, what do you get? One Bitcoin, almost. If you would spend 100K, verify me on the numbers, obviously, you would end up getting over a period of like 4 years, maybe 1.5 Bitcoin. So you start thinking in cycles. You start thinking in 4 year cycles, and when you do that, then you basically make a decision in Bitcoin mining because you simply get more Bitcoin rewards than buying over a certain period, and the period is roughly 3 to 4 years. So if you have this horizon, then you get more Bitcoin for your fiat investment when you participate in Bitcoin mining.
Interesting, and it makes a lot of sense for me, and I will try it out anyways. Even if my calculations say like, oh, maybe it's not profitable, because I really want to understand it on a high level. And then people say like, oh, just buy a BitX, but that's not. I want to understand it to a level of like, how can we make it sense that it's also financially viable, even without the tax benefit from it. Obviously, for example, if you have like, I don't know, you have end of the year with your company, let's say $100,000 left, which is not the case with me, but let's just make the things simple. If with that 100,000, if you sell it in Austria with a corporate tax rate of 23%, you have a cut of right there 23% less. So you only have $77,000 left from that. If you then invest that into Bitcoin, you get what, like not even a 0.8 Bitcoin or something like that from that. And if you invest that in a Bitcoin miner, you get obviously the 100% from it because you save on the taxes, and you might get over the long run with that one machine more than one Bitcoin, even if you subtract the maintenance cost and the electricity cost. Because what you also have to consider, if you just buy from a Bitcoin mining service, the service fee that you pay for them, it's like they also have to do the maintenance, they're repairing those things and stuff like that, and you pay for the facility and all those other things. So
Security
obviously there's a fee to that
too.
and yeah, and the thing is like you just buy it and you get it, and you don't have to think about that peace of mind is also a lot worth for someone, and so I think it's a very nice idea. I just don't know if it makes financial sense outside of the tax benefit, but I will look into that. And yeah, maybe we can do in a year a video where I show my data and I show my calculations and my actual real world data that I gathered, and see if it actually makes sense or if it doesn't make sense outside of taxes. I think with the tax benefit, it could be a very interesting option. But most probably don't have that option because most don't have a Bitcoin company. So it's harder for them to build tax strategies around that. So even it has to make sense from economical standpoint, even without tax benefits. So I'm really looking forward to that. Actually, I think that will be an interesting few months ahead of me of research.
And I actually always post like on my LinkedIn content. I provide on a monthly basis. I provide real real data and real insights on my foundation's mining farm. So I provide those KPIs because obviously this is a learning journey, not just for me, but for everybody. So I'm making those numbers actually public and sharing them every month to show the world and to show the people what it means to go into Bitcoin mining, what it does, and how it compares. So if you're interested in that, just keep following myself on LinkedIn because I'm providing those insights, and obviously I will keep providing those insights when I'm increasing and building more of those farms. And you mentioned the tax benefit, and actually talking to a lot of companies right now who are looking to get some Bitcoin mining exposure. This is a thing I constantly hear, like, oh, it's the end of the year. I need to deduct my profits, obviously. What are the ways to deduct my profits? And obviously, buying miners that you can simply pay off or 100% over 3 years is a good way to deduct your profits, and then you have your tax situation improved, having then machines running for 3 to 4 years that are generating a revenue stream that you then get at a later stage. So this has some very positive implications for companies tax-wise, which definitely is worth checking out.
Interesting. Yeah, I will definitely check it out. Yeah, it will be fun to see. And I will probably link the LinkedIn then for you. Usually I always link the Twitter profile, but if it's maybe I'll link just both of you so people can check it out. I think do you provide it in German or in English?
It's English. I do English content as well.
Very good, very good. So then we can link that and people can check it out if they're curious about that. Last question before we come to the end routine. We are obviously extremely bullish right now with the 100K price, and it's still feels just as the beginning of the bull run. It just feels like, it's slowly starting. What do you expect for Bitcoin? What are you looking forward? What is like the 2025 vision for you? Not only from a price, but like what are your like expectations for the next year?
It's a good question. And to be honest, I personally, and I know this sounds weird or maybe stupid, I really try to not get distracted by the price, the fiat price tag of Bitcoin. I know it's important. It's important for us. It's important for the community. It's important to drive adoption, but it distracts us and distracts our focus on what we should focus on. And I'm more this type of person who really stands behind the ideology behind Bitcoin as a tool that detaches money from central authorities. And that's really what is going to change the way we live, what does change the way we interact with each other. And I really like to focus on how does the future look like with Bitcoin, and how can we actually shape this in a positive way? What are the benefits and what are also the risks associated with that? Because my personal opinion is that Bitcoin is going up and to the right forever. I mean, this is at some point, obviously, you start to understand that there's only your lifetime that's ticking down every single second, and there's Bitcoin ticking up every second, making the block just mine 10 minutes before more scarce and therefore more valuable. Your euro is going to crash, your dollar is going to crash, your yen is going to crash. So Bitcoin is going up and forever. Whether this is in 25, 26 or whatever this is. I think the most important part is how do we onboard more people to Bitcoin standard? How do we educate people on what's positive about it? How do we educate people on what's negative about it? What are the risks associated with it? How do we remove those risks? And how do we shape a future together that is better than the current one for our kids and the generations that will leave? So coming back to your questions, yes, we are going to break the 100K, maybe even today. Yes, we are going to break 200K. Yes, we are going to break 300K. Yes, we are going to break 1 million. The time, nobody knows and nobody can tell. There's so many people out there. Oh, it's today, it's tomorrow. At the end of the day, who cares? This technology is improving our lives. How can we focus on using this technology to improve all our lives. Bitcoin is from the people for the people. So this is what I'm focusing on. I'm not too much distracted about the price. Obviously, it helps all of us. But whether we are hitting the 1 million by 2030, by 2028, 2032, I have no clue. Nobody has a clue. Let's just keep driving Bitcoin adoption and the rest comes from itself.
Absolutely. It just goes up forever because fiat is going down forever. I love that. Really cool. Perfect. Then we have one question that each and every one of my guests is getting, which will be interesting with you. What can we learn from you besides Bitcoin?
Besides Bitcoin? Obviously, being a Bitcoin miner, I love proof of work. And when I love proof of work, I love doing workouts. So I do workouts since I'm 36 now. I started with like 14, so that's 22 years from now. And when I started, I was very small and tiny, and I was actually playing basketball. And I wasn't very talented, and I'm also not as tall as you are. So obviously, I needed some other benefits, and for me, this was being athletic. So it was the time I hit the gym, doing workouts, and I never stopped doing it for now 22 years. So I know a thing or two about being healthy, about doing healthy sport, about plans to become healthy, to build muscles, to build strength. And that's part of myself. That's part of my mindset. That's part of my habit. That's part of my daily work. And I really enjoy it. And I think there's a lot I can talk about it.
Really cool. I love it a lot. Perfect.
I love it a
Then we
lot.
have that meme
We made
came
a
up.
t-shirt. We made a t-shirt for this because it's awesome. I love it a lot. Obviously, I'm part of the 21 Bitfluencers, so I want to name them because it's incredible to work alongside people like the 21 Bitfluencers. Like those are, including myself, 21 capped Bitcoin maxis, OGs out there supporting Bitcoin education, consulting, adoption, Bitcoin only, and the drive, the vision. There are people like you. I learn a lot from them. And it's just incredible what they do out there, what they build out there, what they do for Bitcoin companies. So if you're a Bitcoin company, Bitcoin brand, whatever, definitely check out the Bitcoin marketing team because they're incredible passionate. I love working with them. And I think this is a team going to go nuts and crazy on all the socials. Right now they have like 190,000 followers on X already, 60,000 on LinkedIn, building a great community out there that's very lovely and very caring and just supporting each other. And it's just awesome to be part of this.
Yeah, it's really interesting what the Swiss hodler started it. I think the Swiss hodler started it, right?
Yeah.
And he was on my podcast, and I think my podcast was actually his first ever appearance on a podcast, and it kind of outed him outside of just having his Twitter profile, and it's crazy to see how he develops and how Bitcoiner develops. So it's really cool to see those Bitcoiners, how they were like a year ago or 2 years ago, and develop over and over in the Bitcoin community, but also outside of the Bitcoin community. And yeah, I say it actually a lot. I love it a lot and very cool. It's just like sentences I use so much in the podcast, and it's also very cool that there is now a T-shirt on the 21 Bitfluencer side. It's the first actual Robin Seyr merch. I had this T-shirt with like the Robin Seyr podcast, and I sell it on my store. But it seems like if I put that T-shirt out there just because I wanted to have a T-shirt where it says my podcast name, especially when I go to conferences, stuff like that. I don't expect anyone to buy that because it's not like a cool T-shirt. It's just like it's just his name. It looks a little bit like you're working for the podcast.
The first people already have it, Robin. The first people already have it.
That's true, yeah. But it's very cool. Perfect. Then let's come to the end routine of the podcast, where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. The question from a previous guest is an interesting one. Do you think Elon Musk will be a full throttled Bitcoin maxi, or will he always shield shitcoin?
This is going to be so interesting, and I feel like it's a very, very interesting time over the next 4 years, what we will see with the Trump legislation and all those Bitcoiners around him. Because obviously we heard him, like Trump, we heard him speak, we heard him talk. Obviously there are some risks, whether he truly is behind this technology or actually not, or actually trying to find a way how he can maybe beat the technology. Now you have people like Elon Musk and so many Bitcoiners around him. So obviously there's hope. There's hope that those people around him drive decisions that are forward thinking, that are long-term thinking. I personally think Elon Musk is a very smart guy, and he knows what he's doing. He has his Dogecoin coin, right? He by himself said, "Don't buy this coin. It's just there to do some do some docs and maybe to do some merch." Obviously, probably it's going to be pumped anyway. So I'm a little cautious about those crypto stuff they're building right now, this crypto team they're going to build now. So this is not only Bitcoin only focused, which is a risk in the short term, but doesn't matter on the long term. Overall, I'm very happy that we have people like Elon Musk surrounded on this head like Trump, because I feel like they're driving change. They're not doing things the way things were done in the past. I think they're really driving change, and the way we can drive change a lot is through Bitcoin. And I think they will do a lot in order to drive adoption for Bitcoin. However, associated with central authority risks like politics. And obviously, we don't know what's going to happen, but it's definitely going to be very, very interesting 4 years to observe. But one thing is for sure, Bitcoin is unstoppable. Bitcoin is a beast, and it's going to grow no matter whether there is Trump, Elon, or whoever. At the end of the day, it's only about time. And I think we just need to focus on the time we have on this planet. We just need to stay healthy, observe and wait, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin will win anyway.
I love the end of that. Really cool. Perfect. We before I let you go, and I do think one thing I want to note here before we end it. I think it's interesting how people assume Elon Musk is like full on in Dogecoin, but with all his companies, he ever only bought Bitcoin, and he's on the record of saying he has 10x more Bitcoin. He bought 10x more Bitcoin than he bought Dogecoin. So it's like he trolls the community, I think, with like talking about Dogecoin, promoting Dogecoin, but he buys Bitcoin. So like it goes back to watch what they do and not what they say. I think Elon Musk is more of a Bitcoiner than he really wants to say for some reason, because he's a troll, and he likes to piss off people. He likes to say controversial stuff. He's like I think Trump and Elon Musk is an interesting duo.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a wild ride for America.
But I think it's a positive one. To be honest, I even think those are people like we need in Europe as well.
100%.
They're going to drive change now. Let's forget about the outcome for now. But they really want to drive positive change for their population. Is this something we currently see in Germany? Do they want to drive positive change for the people, or do they want to drive positive change for themselves? For example, CBDC, one topic. They want to drive positive change for themselves, not for the people. And this is something I really like to observe in countries like El Salvador, and countries like Argentina, and countries like the US right now. I have the feeling, whether it's true or not, and let's see whether they keep their promises or not, but I just feel more safe that they're trying to drive positive change for the people. And at the end of the day, this is what we need.
Have you been to El Salvador, by the way?
No, not yet, but it's so high on my list. I really want to go there so bad. This is why I asked you at the beginning of this podcast so many questions around it, because obviously I'm following all the German communities, going there, visiting there, now relocating there. Like German people relocating to El Salvador. Like 3 years ago, this was one of the most dangerous cities. And there were German wealthy people. Like those people are moving now. Obviously, this has something to say. This has a meaning. And obviously, this is driving me to countries like this. I also, like, I'm very flexible right now. And I'm at a point where I say, depending on how countries position themselves now, depending on such situations, this is how I'm going to change and move. And not only myself, but actually I see it in the entire community, right? The Italian Bitcoiners sitting right there, like, let's see what's December going to happen. If they're going to make the wrong decisions, those people, those talent, this wealth is moving. Same I see with people like myself and my community in German-speaking countries. If we are on a Europe level doing not friendly regulations, those people leave. Talent goes where they feel good and where they feel comfortable. So does wealth. Wealth goes where they feel accepted, happy, friendly. And I just think that this is very interesting going to observe for the next couple of 4 to 5 years, where we'll see different countries position themselves differently. And this will definitely impact the way the talent flows and the way the capital flows.
And I just hope that Europe is not sleeping on that, because you are 100% right.
Yep.
So that's for sure. Europe should not sleep on that. I really do hope that. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much, David, for being on. Before I let you go, where can people find you, ask your questions, and read more about you?
Sure. So I have an account on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can drop this one below. Feel free if you have any questions about Bitcoin education, Bitcoin consulting, or Bitcoin mining and hosting, obviously, just send me a message. I have a profile on X as well that you can reach out. Obviously, I'm on Nostr as well. So just feel free to reach out. I do not have my own homepage yet. I basically use LinkedIn for that. Just send me a message and I'll be happy to jump on any call with any Bitcoiner who is interested in mining and Bitcoin standard all around Bitcoin. I'm happy to talk.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Then let's thank you so much for being on. Also, thank you so much for everyone who's watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.